Welcome back to Kryptolytix, giving you a fresh take on crypto analytics. And this is your crypto recap, where I cover some of the things going on in the crypto space. So let's jump in. Okay, so we're going to start here with a bit of an update on Bitcoin, the last few days worth of price action. Now, just before I get into that, I'm just going to have a look at the 2016 halving. Now, this is what I've been drawing more conclusions from than the last cycle, so the one that happened prior. This is going all the way back to 2 cycles ago. Now, essentially what we did is, leading up to the halving, we ran up pretty aggressively, and then we started retracing into the halving, and then we hit the bottom of the SMMA VWAP bands. Now, if I just quickly hide these drawings and also hide everything else, you can see that we came up and then down back into the SMMA VWAP bands, and then we held the top band as support. So again, this is the top of the SMMA VWAP bands because the bottom one is down there, and I've got it grayed out now because it's no longer relevant. Because in a bull market, this no longer is a bearish resistance, it turns into a bullish support. So here it was bearish resistance, and then it turned into bullish support. So again, we came to the bottom of the SMMA VWAP bands, and then we did that. So let's see where we are now. We came very close to the bottom of the bands. Actually, they're sitting at about 54K at the moment. So we got pretty close, but we definitely got to the top band there as well. But the other thing we did touch was the bull market support band, which is the 20-week EMA and then 21-week SMA. Essentially, we've just touched that, tagged perfectly at that 56K level, just above it. Again, all these things can be front run, essentially. So still bullish structure, still bullish trend. We did have, decent amount of a pullback over the last few days. If you measure a drawdown, it's like 30% roughly. But if you go from top to bottom, it's about 23%, which is generally how most people measure pullbacks. But I like to measure it the other way, because if you take a short out, then that's what you're looking at. But anyway, so far structure's still holding pretty well, and this pullback so far has been about 23% to the downside, which is really nothing too crazy. I mean, last time we got 21%, and the time before we got 21% as well. So it's a little bit more than the last couple of times, but it's not a massive deviation from what we've been doing since the start of this bull run back in 2023, or the start of last year. So some decent buying opportunities, that's for sure, as far as I'm concerned, because we haven't broken below the 50K level. So it's overall pretty bullish, but yeah, just in terms of lower time frame stuff, some structure's been broken. But let's move on, because I've got plenty more to cover. We actually did get a bearish 3-line strike on the monthly chart for Bitcoin. So again, these are all monthly candles. So it's the same chart as I saw before. Have a look here. We've got this bearish 3-line strike. So we got a bearish May, but this time we got a bearish April. Now, what happened the last time we got a bearish 3-line strike? Well, generally bearish 3-line strikes, which is where you've got 3 at least bullish candles prior, and then 1 bearish engulfing candle. So that means that this whole candle completely engulfs all of the progress that we made in the previous month. Well, actually, it wasn't that much of a bearish continuation as it should be, because generally this is a strongly bearish signal, right? So generally speaking, when you see a bearish 3-line strike, well, that's indication that we could see much lower prices. And we did come down a little bit more. Again, this was in a sideways sort of period, which we could be in right now, because we basically just tracked sideways until October, and that's when we shot up and started this big run here. We actually put in a new cycle high in the month that followed. So it was a bit of a fake out and a bear trap. So is that something we could get now? And if we did, then that means we could possibly get another run up to the 70K level. Maybe we won't put in an all-time high, but maybe we will actually just get back up to some of these levels. We're not really sure yet, but we've got some pretty decent indications and signs that we actually could be prepping for another bullish run to the upside. But remember, we could very well just keep going down. So that's also fairly probable at this stage. But the following month, which would be the equivalent of now, if we were just to fractal what we did last year, which we probably won't, but it completely engulfed all of the bearishness of the prior month. So there's a chance it could happen again. There's a chance, right? But yeah, then the next 2 months after, so that was your June, July, and August, and sort of September, this kind of area here, we actually did come down and put in a slightly lower low to what we did prior. So essentially what I'm saying is the following month, we put in a lower low and then ran back up to the top of the range by the end of the month. So basically everything kept coming down, and then we spiked back up by the end of the month, essentially. So we could get a little bit more lower, And then who knows, by the end of the month, it could fake out the last of the bears and then just sort of take out all that liquidity. So yeah, this is something that could happen. It's not like it's never happened before. So that's why I thought I would bring that up, right? Now, the other thing I'm seeing on the Bitcoin chart is I saw a TDSS 9 buy signal on the daily. Now, I do have a short open for Bitcoin and I've closed a third of it on this because I got 2 signals to indicate that, well, this could be the end of the line for at least this move to the downside. So I've closed a third of my short and then I've moved my stop to break even. My short's around here, but again, I've got a Bitcoin long open as well. So, and I added more to it here. So I've added significantly more to it here. So it's brought my average open down on my Bitcoin long, and it's been hedged throughout this move so that way, you know, I'm kind of like break even or delta neutral, if you will, throughout this move to the downside, and then slowly starting to shave off some profit because I'm getting some signals that we could get another bit of a move to take out some of these new shorts that have entered the market late. And again, with regards to liquidity, you know, I mean, I posted this a couple of days ago now, so this is a bit stale, this chart, but again, like as price has gone down, more and more shorts are opening up, which is creating more liquidity to the upside, right? So it's creating a big pocket of liquidity above, and I think about 65k is a contender for a, you know, short-term short squeeze. Now, the other thing I'm seeing as well is there's an RSI hidden bullish divergence, and this is on the weekly chart. So again, with any indicator, the higher the time frame, the stronger the signal, right? So we had a TDSS 9 top right at the top there on the weekly, and now we're actually forming a hidden bullish divergence. So what does that mean? So it means that, so the low here that we had back at the start of the year, back in Jan, I think that was, or maybe that was February, where we had some sort of a very light pullback, very, very light pullback. Well, the low of this pullback here, or this local low, or local bottom, if you will, on the RSI is significantly higher than what it is right now, but the low here is much higher than what it was back here. So it's measuring the lows here. So these two lows are being compared here. And again, this is on the weekly chart. So the reason why I've drawn this in manually is because it hasn't printed yet. It will have to form a bottom and then start to recover before this indicator actually puts in what it did here. But have a look here at these hidden bullish divergences. Again, hidden bullish divergence is trend continuation. What is the trend on the weekly? Well, it's quite clearly up. So we've got lower low to here on the RSI, and then this RSI part was lower here, but these were higher lows, which means it's being more overexhausted to the low side, so more oversold, but the lows are higher on price action. So that's what we're getting at the moment on the weekly chart there. So that's something that's definitely worth noting. And again, like, it's good to be cautiously bullish at these price levels, that's for sure, because again, the trend is still up and we're getting resets as well on the fear and greed. So the fear and greed index hit levels we haven't seen since Bitcoin was worth 35k. 35k. We're getting the same level of fear. Well, it's neutral, but it's, you know, almost into fear as we were when we were 35k, and Bitcoin is still around $60,000. I mean, it's a bit shy of it now. It's about 59 at the time of recordings, 59k, but we got to a low of 56.5 around that mark. So essentially 56k at the lows versus 35k. It's insane. So I mean, we've seen a really decent reset on the fear and greed index here on Bitcoin, considering that price actually moved up 100% after we're at those levels back in September. So I mean, that's a pretty good reset, right? It's bounced back up a little bit today, but this is one thing, because we were at 90, right? So we were hitting 90 at the all-time high in terms of the greed. So there was way too much greed, right? So this is a very nice reset, and we haven't even come down that much. Now, if we do keep coming down more and we come down into fear, well, then that's going to be even bigger a reset. And I would say the next level we could potentially come to could very well be, you know, about 55k or thereabouts. We haven't quite got there yet. But again, like, if we got to this zone here between 55 and 56, which, you know, we come very close, I'll take a stab and say that fear would be very low, which would be even more of a reset. But again, well and truly above the levels that we saw when we're at the same price. So there's a little chart there to show just how low we were. And we did come lower in just prior to it. So that's the other thing as well. But there's the price action there. The yellow line there is the price chart. And there is these little blue spikes here, which is the actual fear and greed index level. So pretty crazy. Nice reset, right? Because if there's too much greed in the market, then it's very hard for price to keep going. But when we get these resets, they often mark local bottoms. Like here, that was a local bottom. See that dip there in the fear and greed, and then boom, we went up. Again, right here, that was a local bottom, and then boom, we went up. So in a bull market, when we see fear and greed index this low, that's quite bullish. That is quite bullish. And just lastly, I mean, look at this. The 20-week EMA has held perfectly as support. We also have the 21 smooth moving average, perfectly as support, and we're trying to now reclaim the 100-day moving average, which is at around 59K. So let's see if we can reclaim that level. And then we've got a few resistance above. We've got the 21 EMA and the 50 above, which are sitting at around 63K. So those will be our next levels to contend with. If we do come back up here, maybe we form a lower high, you know, because we can see there's we're quite clearly in a downtrend here in terms of the highs. But if we can reclaim some of these moving averages, then that's quite bullish as well. And lastly, just on the trade that I've got open on the long. So again, I was using the pivot surge for this one, started accumulating around here, and I got another signal today, another signal. So that's showing that the CVI is shifting, which is the cumulative volume index. And we've got blue on the stochastic heat map on the 12-hour. We haven't had blue on the stochastic heat map on the 12-hour since January. And we also had it back in September last year, but we actually got deeper blue on the 12-hour as well. So will we get down there? I'm not really sure, but nevertheless, just going to keep catching this knife, I guess, at least for me anyway. So let's move on. So we had Changpeng Jia, or CZ, as he's also known as, has been sentenced to 4 months prison time. He also got fined $4 billion, and this is his thing, right? Holding up the four. So this is 4-4 culture. I think there was more 4s as well. 2024 happened in, I don't know, there's a bunch of other 4s that people have collated, but anyway. So yeah, poor guy, obviously. Like, the US is just going after, you know, crypto in a pretty big way, unfortunately. But 4 months is not terrible, but it means he's, you know, he's got a criminal record and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, he resigned from the CEO role, obviously, but I think he probably wouldn't have any issues with, you know, trying to find a job after he gets out or anything like that. But nevertheless, the Binance founder, former CEO, pleaded guilty in November 2023 to 1 count of violating the Bank Secrecy Act, a charge that normally could carry up to 10 years prison, but he was only sentenced 4 months. So, I mean, that's not terrible. Could have been a lot worse, to be honest, but taking one for the team, I guess. We also have Jack Dorsey announcing his company Block will now be buying Bitcoin every month moving forward. So no surprise there, if I'm honest, because Jack Dorsey is super, super bullish on Bitcoin. And we also had Europe's second largest bank, BNP Paribas, buying BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF shares. So there you go. Europe's second largest bank is getting into the spot Bitcoin ETFs now. And let's start to cover the Solana ecosystem update. So here we go. We got US PayPal users can actually now purchase the following cryptocurrencies through MoonPay. So, I mean, this is not just Solana, there's other crypto as well, but we've got Solana, Cardano, Polkadot, Chainlink, SHIB, and Doge. So that's pretty cool using MoonPay. I think MoonPay has like a 10% fee though. So, I mean, I'm not sure if that is all part of it, but nevertheless, it's still cool to see that, you know, people with PayPal can actually buy these tokens. So nice one there. Now, I was posting some charts on Solana, so I will actually show the price action in just a sec. But I was saying here at 130, will the 20-week EMA hold at the 130 level? Now, again, when I say hold, I don't mean a 12-hour candle close. I mean a 3-day candle close, because if that's acceptance. If we get 3 days closing at a certain level, then that's acceptance. So at 122, if we held 3 days below that, that's acceptance of a level. Did we accept at the 122 level? Well, the answer is no, we didn't. So we've also got this long-term trend line here, right? And also this horizontal support and resistance. So this horizontal support and resistance was built up from here. You know, you can see a lot of interactions at this 115 level. I mean, that's the bottom of that area anyway. Came straight into there, took this liquidity, and then have just bounced straight up out of it. And then this long-term trend line, which I showed in the last video, the white one there, it's a diagonal, which I don't give a lot of strength to diagonals, but again, I put it on there anyway because people will watch it. Well, it's being reclaimed. Again, in order for that level to be accepted, we need a few days close below there, but nevertheless, I actually closed a big chunk of my short here because I told you already I built a short here. So at the 120 level, I not only bought more spot Solana, actually bought BonkSOL, and I'll cover that in a little bit, but I also closed about half of my short here. So that's where my short is, and my stop loss is at break even, and it's about to take it out. So, you know, I'm happy I actually closed half my short there, because otherwise I would have just round tripped this whole thing. But we've got strength here. We've got strength. And did we accept below 22? No, we didn't. We wicked past it, and then we've reclaimed it very aggressively. Look at the strength on this. 10% pump off the lows. I mean, I know that doesn't sound that impressive, but again, like the market cap of Solana is quite high, right? So that kind of move is very impressive. So we didn't accept at these levels, which is pretty bullish and a sign of strength. And if we have a look here, we didn't quite get to the 200-day EMA, which is sitting at, we can see here, 112. If you look at down the bottom there on this tag. And then we've also got the 20-week EMA, which is the 130, right? So right now we're touching or contending with, and we're slightly above it, but we don't have any candle closes, but we're contending with that 140 level, psychological, and the 100-day EMA. And then the levels we have above to deal with would be the 21-day and the 50-day EMAs. So they've actually branched further apart. So here it was very hard to contend with this level because they were both in the same place. So we didn't get any acceptance above. We got wicks, wick, and wick, and then we didn't get a proper daily close there either. That was another rejection. So again, like now that they've moved further apart, it means there's less resistance in the same place, which is quite positive, because when you've got two significant moving averages in the same place, well, then the selling pressure at those levels is much higher than when they're fanned apart. So they're fanned apart now, which is good, which means fewer sell orders in the exact same spot, which is quite positive. We'll see if Solana can break this structure. So at the moment, we're still putting in lower highs and lower lows, obviously, because that is a lower low to there, that is a lower high to there. But if we can break this structure at the 160 level, I mean, we could very easily see 170, 180, or even 190 in the not too distant future. So, you know, we'll have to see how that pans out. But for now, the other thing I'm seeing as well is look at this bullish divergence on the RSI. So right here. So again, bullish divergence means that we've got lower low on price action, but higher low on RSI. Look at that right there. That's huge. So we've got this big bounce off here off a lower low right off this horizontal, as I mentioned before. But the RSI is significantly higher, which means that the strength of this downtrend could potentially be lost. So that's pretty bullish. We'll see if the bulls can really step in and keep pushing this, because it's looking pretty decent so far. Again, like 20% or so off the lows at time of recording, which is pretty impressive of a move. Now let's get into more of the ecosystem stuff and focus less on price action. Let's talk about DRIFT. So the DRIFT token eligibility checker is now live. So I checked mine and I've got 13,154 DRIFT. I'm not sure how I was able to get that much. I think most of it was because of my OG bonus. Now I've been using DRIFT version 2 because this is not the first DRIFT. There was a version 1, which I didn't really use because I was using Mango back then. But then Mango had problems and I was going to switch to DRIFT straight away. But then DRIFT had problems too. So I was like, okay, no perp dexes for me. And this is 2022. And then at the start of 2023, DRIFT opened up version 2. And I got straight into it and started trading immediately on DRIFT version 2. Now, I'll cover what this means as initial allocation and 6-hour bonus. All this means is if you claim your DRIFT straight away, you'll get 6,577, as in out of the total here, if this was yours. All I'm saying is you get half of it if you claim straight away. But if you wait 6 hours, then you'll get double that. So it's definitely worth waiting to claim, because essentially all the bots will get half of their allocation. So this is a good bot mitigation strategy, unless whoever wrote the bots just straddle or code in some sort of time delay or something like that. Who knows? There's going to be workarounds that, you know, these bot coders will probably write in. But nevertheless, it just means that we probably won't see anywhere near as much sell pressure immediately. So hopefully we won't get like the wormhole effect or the KMNO effect, which I'll cover, you know, more about KMNO in a sec. But by no stretch of the imagination am I a whale in DRIFT. I think I'm quite a humble participant, and I think my eligibility was pretty decent, all things considered. And I got a little bit more than this because I have another couple of wallets. But nevertheless, at the moment, I think on Whales Market, DRIFT is trading for about 35 cents at its all-time high. Again, in Whales Market, so it doesn't really count because it's Whales Market, it's pre-market trading, but it was about $1.57. That's the all-time high price. So, I mean, that would have been worth $21,000 my entire airdrop, but that's ridiculous to even claim that. But its current value is about 37 cents pre-market. We don't know what it'll actually drop at because pre-market prices aren't always a reflection of what we get, especially on Whales Market. But that's worth about $5,000 at the moment. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not terrible. But nevertheless, added that to the list of Solana airdrops. It's just getting out of control. But here's the main thing to cover really is this incentivized waiting period. So they've designed a 6-hour bonus claim at TGE where drifters get up to 2 times their drift allocation if they wait a full 6 hours to elapse from TGE, so it's token generation event. This is a unique mechanism designed to alleviate network congestion and reward patient drifters. So this is the main thing that I wanted to bring up. And also they're building in diamond hand incentivization. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Now, my plan for drift is the same as what I did with KMNO, so I might not get this, but I'll probably end up getting more tokens. I'll show you what I did in a sec when I cover the KMNO section. But nevertheless, the launch of the airdrop will be done by the Drift Foundation. We don't have an exact date yet on when that will happen, but I'm sure it'll be sometime within the next month or two. I think people that used Drift V1 actually got massive OG bonuses because I saw someone, and I don't know if they photoshopped it, but someone had 200,000 drift. So, I mean, I didn't use V1, unfortunately, so I missed out on that super OG bonus. The other thing there I saw on their website is this fuel thing. So I'm not sure exactly what it is, but fuel, you'll find it over on Drift if you go onto the interface and you're like, well, what's that? But it doesn't actually say what it is. So maybe the people with a bit of inside information might know more about this, but I think they're probably keeping it tight-lipped at the moment. But we'll see what this is. Maybe this is the staking program for Drift. We'll have to see. I'm guessing that also Drift, the token, if you stake it, there'll probably be like reduction of fees. Maybe they'll do protocol revenue sharing. We'll have to see what they actually do, but I think that's probably going to be part of what fuel is. So anyway, I also posted just a bit more, detail about the claim right here. So this is on the website. I also made the text a bit easier to read. So if you want to know more detail about that, you can come over here and check this out. But essentially, it's just a cheat mitigation strategy to mitigate, the portal being spammed and congestion on the network, which I already covered in my TLDR before. So essentially, that's pretty much that. And the Drift token airdrop can be seen now on the airdrops.link. So this website here, you can go and put your wallets in essentially and see what kind of tokens you got. I got 2 wallets that I was trading on Drift. And then additionally, Lulo, as it's now known as, also known as Flexlend or formerly known as Flexlend. Also, I got an additional 400 Drift. So if you've been putting your money in Flexlend, or now known as Lulo, then you will quite possibly will have Drift tokens, which is really cool. So go over to Flexlend, go to rewards, and you'll see after you've connected your wallets, whichever ones you've used for this, how many tokens you're eligible for just for providing liquidity. So personally, I had 2, so I've got 400 additional drift across 2 other wallets. So you'll be able to claim that. I think probably it'll be the same thing. So probably wait 6 hours and then claim it. But as I said, like even they say it here on my post, the whole thing about Flexlend is it's this place where you can go and high yield on your USDC, on your SOL. They've got a decent list and I'm sure it's growing, but you can also earn points in these different points programs and also earn decent yield. I mean, when the peak of the bull market was here, when we were at about 70K for Bitcoin or thereabouts, and Solana was pushing its highest prices for this cycle, I was seeing like 40, 30% APY on my stable coins. It was actually crazy. So personally, I've earned, not heaps, but a decent amount of yield just from using Flexlend. And now I've also earned additional tokens. I also earned KMNO in here as well. So that's pretty cool and something to check if you've used it when the token goes live for Drift. Now, just also staying on brand here for the Flexlend team, they've rebranded to Lulo. So there you go. They're just updating all their handles and doing all the rebranding. And apparently they were Lulo before. So we can see if we come over to the Solana website, they were over here as of July the 6th. So in terms of actual Flexlend, we've only been able to use it as the product is now for a few months, but before, very similar product before. But nevertheless, make sure you go over there and check to make sure you have claimed your Drift when it becomes available. Probably wait the 6 hours so you get the full amount. Staying on Drift. So we've seen the pre-market price, as I mentioned before, that was $1.57, I believe I said before. We've seen the pre-market price on Whales Market come down pretty significantly. This is a post by Kashtanda, one of the hosts of the Dupe Planetary Call and a big contributor to the ecosystem. He says, I think that people selling their Drift pre-market are going to be coping in a few weeks. Seems pretty consensus now that selling your airdrops pre-market is plus EV, but he thinks the consensus is wrong here, but he'll have to see, right? So we'll see what kind of price we get at launch, but nevertheless, there's nowhere else to really trade this. Drift haven't put it up on their pre-market trading, so can't really trade it there, but nevertheless, I think we just wait for the drop and see how it goes. I think we probably won't really see much selling pressure. in the first 6 hours, but we very well could. So there's definitely going to be bots doing their thing, but they're going to lose out on their bonus. So we'll see if claiming your drift, selling it immediately and then buying it back at lower prices would be better than waiting the 6 hours and then getting double. So the price would have to half in order for that strategy to be any good. Now, let's have a quick look at Jupiter, since we did just mention Cash Thunder, who's part of the Jupiter team, I suppose, if you call the planetary call Jupiter. But the Jupiter's actually become the #1 decentralized exchange with the highest number of unique active wallets across all chains. That's pretty impressive. So it's higher than Uniswap, and actually Radium's here as well, and Jupiter actually routes through Radium. So out of the top 3, at least here, based on the metrics that are measured, and this is on not just, this is Uniswap as a multiple chains, right? Look at that, Ethereum, Crow, which is crypto.com, Polygon, Avalanche, Optimism, Arbitrum, and Base. I mean, all use Uniswap. So this is all these chains, and then one chain, Solana, dominates the list. How cool is that? And while we're talking about Jupiter, I should probably mention that there's 3 new votes up on the LFG. So remember, part of the ASR model, which is active staking rewards model, you're rewarded for engaging with the DAO in every vote. So come and check these votes out and cast your vote. And obviously that all depends on what you feel about it. It's basically just creating budgets for the working groups, right? So there's, the Reddit working group, web working group, all that sort of stuff. So, you can just abstain if you don't really know or care, or you can vote for, I voted for, or you can vote against. It's up to you. So go over, cast your vote, because it's all part of the ASR model. So this way you get rewarded for continually engaging with the Jupiter DAO. Okay, so let's cover some developments by Sanctum. So just a reminder, Sanctum is the LST or liquid stake token mint platform. So it basically are liquid versions of staked assets or staked Solana, which means that, rather than your Solana being locked up with a validator, it's technically being staked with that validator of the LST, but you can swap it immediately. You don't have to wait. Anyway, I've covered it enough in previous videos, but in the last 4 days since the launch of Wonderland, which I covered in great detail in my last video, so go check that out if you want to know more about it. But these LSTs have gained 378k SOL in market cap. It's a growth of 30%. Wonderland's only been up for a couple of days, so that's very impressive. This is all LSTs, it's not just Infinity. So this is further contributing to the decentralization of Solana, because every Solana that's staked is a contribution to the decentralization of the network. So we're still going, and we've got that first quest, which I said there's no quests in my last video, but this is technically a quest. So there's an accumulative Infinity XP that's running at the moment, which is, slowly getting there. I think the target's pretty high, 350 billion XP, but nevertheless, it's going. And also, you can now track your XP in your wallets for Sanctum with Sonar Watch. So I've mentioned Sonar Watch in a few videos before. It's your sort of one-stop shop where you can go and put all of your wallets in, especially if you've got multiple wallets, and track your assets worth, or see how much money you've got in certain DeFi protocols, and you can look at NFTs and stuff like that. And they've also got points tracking, and you can now see your addresses. So there's a few addresses I've got here. I mean, this is a bit of an old post now. I think my points is at like 40 million now or something crazy, but anyway, because I could just keep buying more LSTs on the dip and then that's it. But yeah, I'll just notice I'm not simple farming, just spreading risk. What that means is I've got multiple wallets, but this is a linear drop, right? So you could have 5 or 6 wallets all farming XP for Sanctum, but it doesn't increase your airdrop, right? You don't get more airdrop by doing this over multiple wallets. For me, I'm just trying to spread my risk over multiple wallets. So if one of mine is hacked for whatever reason, then I don't lose everything. So that's what I mean by spreading risk. Anyway, track all your XP in one place with Sonar Watch. And on the dip, I scooped a new pet. So again, as I mentioned in my previous video, you get these little pets for every single LST you hold. So now I've got one for Infinity, I've got the one for Helium, and the one for the Jupiter staked Sol. And now I've got the BonkSOL as well. So I think it's called Bonksy. But anyway, so I bought not that much, about $1,000 worth of Sol at 122. That was the equivalent of about 120 Sol, the price anyway. And, we had a nice little recovery after that, breaking this really, really low time frame structure there. Nice little pump to the upside. Well, at least that was the time of taking this screenshot. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Kind of looks like an egg, actually. But anyway, so that's my latest addition. And it's not too bad. I actually managed to nail a decent bottom here. So there it is there. putting it about 16%. Not too bad. So there it is on the live chart. So you can see I didn't just Photoshop it. That's what some people do. But anyway, there it is there. And yeah, I don't know. It's looking all right. Decent amount of sell pressure here, actually. This volume candle here has a fair bit of profit taking, but nevertheless, added BonkSOL to the list. So as I mentioned before, with Sonar Watch, they've got points now tracked for Wonderland. They got Parcel added to the list now. So they got the new season Parcel points, and Solana Protocol Season 2 is now being tracked there as well. So there you go. That's your one-stop shop for tracking your wallets on Solana. Now let's go over the KMNO drop. Now this was crazy. So KMNO went live and people immediately jeeted their coins. So yep, that's exactly what happened. This is a 1 minute chart at the time of launch. Now I actually started trying to claim mine about, I don't know, 10 minutes, I think, after TGE, or after the token went live. So it did this immediately. So it does not look great. So the bots that were able to claim basically sold their tokens immediately. It launched at about 18 cents and it went down to, well, lower than that. It went down to like 30. I think the lows were like about 30 cents. Yeah, so the lowest we got to was 30 cents. Look at that right there. That's crazy. So this looks crazy. Look at this. It's like an L. So now my question was, did you jeet your KMNO? So I have to admit that I did, but I unjeeted it to get about 60% more tokens because I really want to stake to get the points boosts. But yeah, my allocation was a little bit more than that actually, because I had some in Flexlend, but you know, without the Flexlend allocation, it was 21,340. So the all-time high pre-market was about $4,000. Now 853. Well, that was when it was worth about 40 cents. It's actually climbed back up. So have a look here. It's come back up to about 79 cents, hit about 80 cents there. So yeah, it's climbed up pretty nicely. So what I did on one of my wallets, view this on a lower time frame, 1 minute chart, the DGen time frame. So essentially I sold my KMNO at, says about 59 cents around there. And then I rebought it back at 37 cents with a limit order and dupe. It went down a little bit more than that, but that way I was able to get about 60% more tokens. So, and then it sort of kept, you know, bleeding a little bit, you know, wandering, accumulating around these levels, trying to find a base. And ever since then, now we've gone up 128%. So there you go, 60% more tokens. And then it went up 128%. So not bad. It's not bad. So essentially that was like, that's kind of was my strategy, because I felt like after this massive dump, I'm like, well, what's the point in selling at these levels? It seems kind of ludicrous. So yeah, I'm still holding my KMNO. I jeeted, then unjeeted it. And it's all being staked now for extra points boosts in KMNO. And there's a couple things you could do with your KMNO. A lot of people only got a small amount, which is fair. And I think a lot, you know, there's some people out there that were very unhappy with the KMNO airdrop. Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, you know, the OG bonus, you know, not many people got it. And I know some people who were using this even before me that got even less of an allocation than me. But nevertheless, you know, you get staking boosts or points boosts for the next season by staking your KMNO. And the other thing you can do as well is provide liquidity. So if you deposit KMNO alongside other assets into the vaults, you can generate trading fees and earn KMNO incentives. So it depends on which way you want to go. Either you can go down the staking route to get more points, or you can go down and get incentives by pairing your KMNO with other assets. Now, I think maybe something like a SOL KMNO would be pretty decent, because SOL has shown pretty decent strength, to be honest. But at these prices, if a KMNO goes up like, you know, several 100% from these levels, and Solana only goes up 12%, well, you're losing out on, this isn't permanent loss, but you're losing out on some of the price appreciation that you get from exposure to KMNO by itself. Which is why for now I'm happy to stake, and then later, once things start to normalize in terms of the price, then I might change some of it over to liquidity. But I think staking is the smartest move for now, so you don't lose out on the potential gains from price action on KMNO. And then later, once the price is normalized and the market decides what KMNO's price should be, then maybe something like this would be a good idea. So anyway, let's move on. Check out a few more things over in the Solana ecosystem. We got Hive Mapper, a decentralized mapping network built on Solana blockchain, has now mapped over 19% of the global road network. So this is like a Google Maps where people contribute to it and mine tokens essentially as part of the process. So they're slowly getting there. 19%, that's not too bad for a decentralized Google Maps essentially. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Also with regards to the RWA or real world asset narrative, with BlackRock really pushing the narrative, we've got a chart now here for the market cap of RWAs on Solana. Now, I've mentioned RWAs a few times because it is a narrative that's heating up. We've got Ondo absolutely decimating. It's the highest market cap out of all of them. Now, this is multi-chain. This is not just Solana, but this is the exposure to the Solana ecosystem. We've got Pith, again, multi-chain, $757 million market cap. So it's got exposure to the Solana ecosystem. And I think these ones are also multi-chain, at least some of them, and we've got some that are native only to Solana. But yeah, this is essentially the real-world asset exposure to the Solana ecosystem and their market caps charted out. And they put a little question mark here on Source. Now that's Sourceful. That's a Solana-only resource sharing application as part of the RWA narrative. So we'll see how these guys do. I think if they're on the next LFG, I'm going to throw a vote their way because I really like the concept of this project. And I think that something like this has a lot of potential because this is RWA and deep in as well. And I really think that something like this, you know, I know it's not sexy as some people have said in the past with regards to this kind of resource sharing in terms of, you know, solar energy or renewable energy resource sharing. But this is the sort of thing that I think has a lot of potential. And it just feels like a pretty solid use case for crypto, having a decentralized power grid. I mean, the idea of that sounds really cool, where you share your energy resources with people around you. But I think that crypto needs a lot more adoption before this can even get any adoption. Because I reckon if you tell people about this that have solar panels or even little windmills or whatever in their house, or geothermal, they've tapped into geothermal and feeding it back into the grid, then this is the sort of thing that they would be like, that's really cool, you know? Because a lot of the rebates for solar and all sorts of stuff like that have drastically reduced recently. So this is one way where you can decentralize the process and share your energy with other people. But again, we need a lot more crypto adoption, I think, for something like this to be useful. But anyway, just an RWA update. Now let's get into some meme coin stuff, the fun in the space. So now I often look at projects to see what their earnings are, because any protocol that earns decent fees, well, that protocol revenue often gets put back into the token. They'll either burn token or they'll rebuy their assets or any of that sort of stuff. So we've got a list here of 24-hour and 7-day earnings for various protocols on Solana. So we've got Jupiter here, earnings are pretty decent. Magic Eden earns a fair bit. And at the time of taking the screenshot, look at the Bonk bot, $1.4 million worth of earnings versus, that's like the next several combined. That's Magic Eden, Lifinity, Degen Coin Flip, Radium, and Jupiter, pretty much combined. So if you like to invest in high protocol revenue protocols, then Bonk reigns supreme. So I guess what do you do if you want to get exposure to this protocol revenue? Well, buy Bonk, I guess. Not financial advice, as I've put here, but how crazy is that? Bonk's earnings are huge with the Bonk bot, and more Bonk bot achievements since launch on Solana. Total volume, $5.3 billion plus, 325,000 users. Total fees earned is 52 million, and ecosystem contributions worth above 28 million. Over 7 million of Bonk was burned by BonkBot, bought from 10% of the total fee revenue. So how crazy is that? That's making Bonk potentially really deflationary at this point, especially if this keeps going. And as long as the meme coin narrative remains strong, which it well and truly is on Solana, then this thing's just going to keep burning tokens. As I said, this is their way of using that fee revenue. So burning tokens takes out supply, which is essentially buying pressure on the token price. So there you go. That's BonkBot reigning supreme. And again, like, Bonk remains the top dog. So this was at the bottom of the dip, right? So this is, you know, when Solana was 120. This was posted by Gnarly Quinn, this chart here. So this is Bonk versus all the other, well, a good chunk of the other meme coins, right? So these are sort of your top tier meme coins, so to speak. And Bonk didn't fall anywhere near as much of the rest. Look at this. This is Doge, Whiff, Myro, Wen, Chonky. I mean, you can read the list here. Look at this. Everything down on Bonk. Everything down on Bonk. So Bonk is just reigning supreme, at least compared to the other meme coins. And you know, I'm still in my long trade on Bonk, and it's just kind of going sideways. As I said in the last video, what we did last time is something very similar, where we got a breakout, right? So we got a breakout of structure. That's a break of structure there. That's a break of structure there. Held around nicely. Like, this just looks like a really nice trade setup, right? Held quite nicely. Dip below a little bit, and we did that dip right there. But look where we are right now. This is potentially where we are right now. So is Bonk about to do this? We don't know, but it's, you know, it's definitely possible, especially with all these Bonk burns and the use of the bot and everything like that. You know, Bonk's just doing really, really well overall especially in these market conditions. So let's talk about some more degen meme coins. So we got MICHI hitting that $120 million market cap. So now I've been posting a lot about MICHI, probably a bit too much, but the goal, I think the first sort of milestone for MICHI to hit was that $100 million market cap, and it smashed it. It went up to 120. So there you go. And that's 400% from my entry, which is also when I covered it in that video. So again, this is why meme coins and culture coins exist, because, you know, in these sort of like dark times, these pullbacks, you know, where fear is permeating throughout the space, we've got things like this happening. So, you know, you see your portfolio down 5-6 figures and you're like, ugh. And then you look at this, you're like, yeah, go MICHI. You know what I mean? So MICHI's just holding its own, really, let's be honest. And let's have a look at the live chart. I think it's a bit of profit taking at the moment, but look at that. It's gone absolutely ballistic. Let's look at the market cap instead. Oh, it got to 150. It got to $150 million market cap. Yeah, go MICHI. It's up to 84% in the last 24 hours. Bit of profit taking here. But again, when did I cover? It was about $24 million market cap, I think it was. Or it was about 20 million. It's actually went up 586%. Yeah, go MICHI anyway. So I bought a decent amount of this, not too much because I'm not that much of a degen. I'm a degen, but I don't go too crazy with this stuff. But my holdings in MICHI is now, it's in my top, I would say my top 6 holdings now. So I don't know, that might put things into perspective. So yeah, there you go. MICHI absolutely going nuts. It's only $136 million market cap though. That's not even that high. So are we about to get a run up to the $300 million market cap level? We don't know. So yeah, anyway, MICHI's putting in those gains. Also, we have the Solana meme coin POPCAT hit a new all-time high. So let's have a look at that. It's up at $584 million market cap right now. So that's really cool. I mean, it's up a lot. From its first spike to the upside, if you bought the all-time high of this back in December, which I don't think many people knew about it back then you're up about, I don't know, 1,600%. Or even if you bought as soon as it broke this structure here, essentially, which is around here, you're still up a lot. So there's POPCAT doing some pretty crazy stuff. I have a very small amount of this that I bought back in March around here. So I'm up about 100% on that. Nothing too crazy, but anyway, there's POPCAT putting in the gains as well. And I mentioned also, I think that MANEKI might be starting to break structure as well. Now, when I posted that, it was right here and it's actually gone down a bit since then. At about, I think it's gone down 18% since I posted that. But you know, like it's still okay. It's still forming a higher low here. So we'll have to see, right? This thing was airdropped to all the Solana Saga holders. So there's a good chance that that's extra selling pressure. But we just have to wait for the JEETs to finish cheating. And then only then can we see potential price appreciation on that one. I haven't sold any of my MANEKI. I've held on to mine. The other one as well that seems to be potentially breaking out is WEN. So let's have a look here. Nothing too convincing yet. I think WEN needs to break this structure here before we can see some decent upside on that one. But again, it depends on the rest of the market conditions, right? Can't go up in isolation. And we also had a copycat of the Bonk killer, which I covered in the last ecosystem update video or the last crypto recap. And there's another honeypot that has disabled the sale of tokens. So again, another one of these tokens where someone's minted it. So just be very careful when you're buying new coins. But that's what the symbol looks like. So just keep an eye on that one. There's actually already an EP, but even that one looks like a terrible chart as well. But anyway, just be careful of these. You can go into Bird Eye and make sure that the creator cannot freeze the sale of tokens. So nevertheless, just be careful of these. I think at this point, it's just liquidity being drained from bots. So anyway, let's move on. We also had DeGODS coming back in and Y00ts as well. So they can actually migrate their NFTs back to Solana after Frank moved away. This is one of the two. So Y00ts and DeGODS were the two big NFT projects on Solana that left during the bottom of the bear. So back in December 22, when the ecosystem hit rock bottom post FTX collapse. So I don't really have any respect for these guys because they left the ecosystem when, you know, we were at our lowest. Have a look at the chart here though. Some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason back in July, so this is even after they bridged across. So the bridge opened up here. So you could keep your DeGOD on Solana still, but it went up 500%. The floor price on DeGODs went up to 2,000 SOL. So how crazy is that? It's actually come back down to 53 SOL. But nevertheless, you know, these guys are OGs. They were around in 2021. So, you know, when Solana was first gaining traction. But yeah, it was pretty funny that the floor price just kept going up, even though for the most part it left the space. You could see it became quite illiquid though. So I'd say that many people bridged their NFTs, but you can bridge it back to Solana now. So anyway, that's some pretty crazy news on the NFT front. But let's cover some other blockchains and other ecosystems. We've got Neptune Finance. Again, that's a money market on Injective. They've got 5,200 users all up. So that's 40% monthly growth. Pretty good. TVL crossed 10 million in TVL. That's also not too bad. It's pretty small though. If you're trying to farm the airdrop for Neptune Finance, there's not a lot of people in there. So this one's incredibly underfarmed, unlike a lot of the Solana airdrops, which are definitely not underfarmed. But yeah, there's not a lot of users on there really. So they've also released the tokenomics, or some of the tokenomics for their token. And you can also connect with the Leap wallet. And they've also did the TIA listing, which I've covered in the previous video. But anyway, that's what Neptune's up to. Slowly growing, and definitely this is my favorite money market on Injective. This is the one I'm farming the most at the moment because I'm definitely an airdrop farmer, but this is the one I'm farming the most over on the Injective ecosystem. So I've put all my eggs into this basket because all my other Injective airdrops have been pretty bad. So I'm really hoping that if I focus more on just the one, because I don't have that much money in the ecosystem, then maybe it'll be a little bit more impressive, but we'll have to see, right? We'll have to see. Now let's check out Eigenlayer. Now, I did talk about that a little bit in the last video. I just said that people were pretty bearish on it, at least. But yeah, this is ran from Crypto Banter. This is his opinion. So Eigen is a traditional VC scam, a scheme where VC insiders fleece retail investors again. So early VCs get in early at small valuations. Retail will get in at a $15 billion valuation, which is pretty extreme. So low circulation, high FDV at the start. So again, let's fleece more retail, right? Insiders and VCs have inside information on snapshots, because again, no one knew what the snapshot was, and use it where retail had no idea. Where again, one of the VCs that invested in this, they knew exactly when the snapshot took place, because you could see as soon as the snapshot took place, they pulled all their money out of the restaking for Eigenlayer. So there you go. There's kind of proof there. And large areas of the world are blocked from the airdrop. Mostly areas that really need blockchain and money freedom. So again, like the US, for example, Russia, China, I mean, that's kind of obvious, I suppose. A large swath of Africa, we got most of the UK. There's just so many places that are banned, and there's partial bans as well, which I can barely see. I think the partial ban is Ukraine. That's the only way I can really see on the map there. But nevertheless, I mean, and I think they had VPN detecting as well, right? And the tokens are also locked. So they drop and they locked until they decide to unlock them. So you can't even transfer them. You can't do anything with them. So they release the airdrop, and then what do you do with it? Kind of nothing, right? So any retail investor that buys this in the first 3 years will be punished. I mean, that's his opinion, right? But nevertheless, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And all I can say about the Eigen airdrop is if you want decent airdrops, leave ETH and come to Sol. I mean, at least for me, Sol has been really good overall. With regards to the VPN and the Eigenlayer issue, essentially this is one way you can potentially fix it if you might be eligible, but you can't claim it. So here's a simple fix. So you turn on VPN, use an incognito browser, you go to inspect elements and network, load Eigen claims page without restricted, and then block request URL under name is block, reload without restricted. It's pretty extreme. You have to go through all this, but if you're in that boat, come over here and just follow this video guide. Just do it step by step. Even if you don't understand what it is you're doing, this might help you out to get to the eligibility. So there you go. Even if you're not eligible for it, you can still at least now check. So you can see that the eligibility works. Now they're trying to pick up the pieces. So here we go. We've got, if you qualified for 10 Eigen, then your allocation will now be 110. So this is at pre-market prices. So this is the Eigen price pre-market, meaning at current pre-market prices, your airdrop will be increased from $100 to $1,100. So even if you only deposited a small amount into Eigen, you would probably have 400 points. And again, this is pre-market prices. So this is using AVO. So yeah, that's the current price on the daily chart at the moment for pre-market. We don't know what it will actually drop at, but the pre-market trading started at $6.30 and is now at $10. But anyway, I don't know. There's just a lot of bearish sentiment on Eigen now anyway. And I didn't have much ETH in there personally. So I got 400 points and I'm not in a blocked region. So I can actually claim mine. Do I care? Not really, if I'm honest. Don't really care about the Eigenlayer stuff or the restaking. Every time I watch the developers talk about and try and explain what restaking is, it's like people won't understand what this is. Like this is not that impressive. So anyway, whatever. People are pretty bearish on Eigen, even though the price is, you know, trading at a $10 valuation at the moment. It doesn't really matter. It's I don't know. The airdrop meta. I have to admit, the airdrop meta is coming to a inevitable conclusion, I think, in terms of expecting crazy amounts of money from these airdrops, and then when they actually drop, they drop, you know, at very low sort of valuations, or things get dumped immediately, all that sort of stuff. The only thing we can do now is essentially what Drift is currently doing, where they have some sort of bot mitigation strategy where they get slashed 50% of their airdrop for immediately dumping it. So, I mean, these are the sorts of things we'll probably start to see more and more, but nevertheless, that's some of the bearishness on Eigen layer. I did do a post on ETH, and I've got currently a long and a short on ETH. I've got a long that I'm slowly building that's kind of just like a collateralized borrow, if you will. So in one of my accounts, I'm just buying ETH on the way down, but it's at such low leverage that I have no liquidation price. So all I'm doing is putting assets up to buy ETH. So that's why I say it's not a leverage trade, it's more of a collateralized buy. And then I got a proper leverage trade short on ETH, where I shorted here after we got a breakdown of the 12-hour Heikanashi super trend and added at the line, which is a average to range line. At the moment, ETH is sitting at around, I think, the $3,000 mark. So yeah, there you go. So that's up about 20%. Last time I checked, that's just sitting in drift. But yeah, if I see some sort of indications the market will start to properly recover, I'll definitely cut it. It's just a hedge. It's just a hedge against my collateralized buys. But anyway, we have another airdrop coming for Dimension stakers. Just thought I'd mention that. So it's the Mande network, or Mand, I don't know how you pronounce that, but it's an on-chain credibility hub. So they use proof of credibility, which is an interesting concept. It's a roll drop for DYM stakers. I don't think you need to delegate to a specific validator for this. I was just looking at this post and I saw put your DYM to work and stake with our sponsor. I think that's just the post, whoever's posting this, which is their airdrop checker. But nevertheless, I think you can just stake your DYM in general, and 5% of the total supply, or 1 million, will be awarded to stakers at launch. So the snapshots or any other airdrop criteria has not been announced yet. So yeah, there you go. So anyway, yeah, so it's basically a proof of credibility protocol built on the principles of Ubuntu philosophy and leveraging ZK credentials. Anyway, you can come over to this post. I did reshare it on my X. So you can come over to this post if you want to find out more about it. But if you're still staking your Dimension and you're crazy like me, because I mean, the price action of Dimension's been pretty bad. But if you're still staking your Dimension, hopefully we get something. But look, people are pretty bearish on a lot of the Cosmos airdrops. A lot of them are pretty small. So yay, another $10 airdrop. So anyway, hopefully it's okay. We don't know. We don't know yet. But it's just something that I thought was worth noting. And lastly, the Prism airdrop, they have a feature where it'll be transferable. So how's that? that's just in light of the bearishness on the Eigen layer. But again, yeah, Prism's coming very soon, the Prism stake drop. So we still don't know if that's going to be any good, but nevertheless, that's coming up soon as well. So that covers it all for today's crypto recap. So if you liked the video and you found it helpful, then please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this, and hit that bell notification if you want to be alerted when more videos come out from me. And go check me out on X or Twitter if you want all of this information in real time before I do a long form video on it. So keep safe out there. This is Kryptolytix signing out. Have a good one.